Well, hey guys, we're out here doing a walkthrough of the garden today, and it's fall in Wisconsin, right on the edge of winter. So we're looking at maybe a 2-week time period until we have to put all of the trees that you see out here into the greenhouse. So the greenhouse is a tool that we'll talk about a little bit over the course of this video. But what I wanted to do really is run a walkthrough of this is what we have going on project-wise. This is what we're looking at for the winter, why the greenhouse matters, and just kind of give a quick introduction to what we're doing. So I'll start down here while we talk about what's going on. Everything's in fall color right now and switching into dormancy mode. So we're right on the verge of being pretty much closed up shop-wise for the whole season. It's a really interesting time period because the trees have shifted from wanting to put on big solar panels into full-on vascular production. They're getting ready for next year's growth. It's a beautiful time, but it's sort of a death every year, just because we're kind of done with the most beautiful phase of trees and moving into this dormant phase. One of the big pieces of work that we'll be doing a lot of this winter again is repotting. Repotting is incredible to me because that's when you really get to see a tree come into its full potential. Like this phenomenal limber pine. Look at the base on this thing. This limber pine is going into its first real pot this year. It was in dire need of a repot last year, but it did not get done. So now we're going to go really hard on this tree this year. This garden space has been beautiful. Just for our family, it's been a really great thing to have something like this to come out to. Life and beauty kind of surrounding us. That's the heart of bonsai in a very real way. Everyone gets into it for their own reason. But for us, this is a place of peace and tranquility and a place to get really cool work done. The garden feels kind of empty. Some trees are already in the greenhouse and all the tropicals are in the house. I've got a grow box, like tent set up in my basement with lights in it. It stays around 75 degrees and stays at like 90% humidity because of all the plants being shoved in there. The tropicals have been in that setting for like a month already. And it's not because they couldn't handle a little bit of a dip in temperature. It's actually because tropicals just quit growing when it gets below 50. And I wanted the capacity to keep those tropicals growing really, really well. So what we're going to be doing is right now getting ready to organize the greenhouse to fit all of these trees in it, because as we continue to add tree after tree after tree, it becomes like a game of Jenga to fit all the trees in the greenhouse. And if I could be really honest, most of the trees out here could handle being outside during a Wisconsin winter. They're really, really hardy, especially the Rocky Mountain junipers, like this guy down at the end. He could handle a winter outside. The greenhouse just gives a little bit of an edge, a little bit of an extra layer of protection, and it makes it so we can do work over the course of the winter. So when we hit January, February, when the trees are frozen in if they're outside, that's when I'm starting my repotting season. That's when I'm starting to do work on trees. And for this guy, he's in a great pot. We could not get him in at the potting angle that I wanted. This should be the front of this tree. And because we hit some irreducible roots, we had to put him in at an angle. He's been growing in this pot for 3 years now. The goal is going to be either this spring or next spring to pull him out of the pot, reduce the roots over on this side, pull those in this way, and then rotate the whole tree 45 degrees to get the right angle to the front of the tree. And beautiful, ancient deadwood features, a beautiful tree. A conservative estimate based on a tree that was collected of a similar size in the exact same location that died and was trunk cut would be somewhere around 500 years old. It's a beautiful, ancient example of a tree. And we have little trees like this growing too. I can't wait to get this Itoigawa into a pot. He'll go into his first pot this spring. Really excited to continue forward with a lot of these trees. Really excited just to be a part of this whole process. Bonsai means patience. And this is the one thing that you'll hear over and over again in the hobby. People say that because in a very real way it's true. I could push really hard to repot trees when they don't need it, or to make aesthetic decisions like repotting. Like, for example, the big tree we just talked about. There's a good chance I wait another year, and I have to look at the tree at a bad potting angle for another year. And that's because, like, to be honest, I would way rather wait and have a live tree that's not perfect than force a repot too quick just because the potting angle bothers me and have a dead tree. A live tree that's a little off is better than a perfect, beautiful, well done dead tree. Like, that's just the reality of the hobby. So bonsai means patience. Sometimes bonsai looks like I'm gonna wait, I'm gonna take it really slow, and I'm gonna make sure that my tree survives. So this is the greenhouse that we use. I'll show you guys the entrance. It's a fair size for the level that we're trying to do the hobby at here. And the fans have actually kicked on because we're still in the zone where it's getting way too cold at night and just blipping up over 40 during the day. All of the trees that are in the greenhouse right now are either trees that had really major work done to them, or trees where we just don't trust the hardiness of their root system, or trees that don't do well with hard freezes. So that's kind of the combination of things that we have going on. This black pine is actually a really good example of that. This tree was forced into an out-of-season repot. And normally you would never recommend doing something like this. I know this tree. It's really, really tough, very, very hardy, and also it blew off the bench this year. So it blew off the bench in a windstorm in October, shattered the pot. We had no recourse but to do something. I could have slip potted it. Instead, I chose to repot it. I've been trying to get it in that shallow pot for 2 years, been waiting, timing, and then I got a call from the guy that was watching our house saying one of your trees blew off and the pot got bombed. That is an opportunity all of a sudden. It looks like we're gonna go ahead and repot this tree out of season, and there's been no sliding backward. So depending on how it looks as winter progresses, I'll remove a few of the shoots that need to come off. And then for next year, I may even start the decandling process, even though it's probably a little bit finicky right now because the roots got some damage. We'll see how it goes. Again, means patience. So if it doesn't grow as strongly as I'd hope for it to, I won't start doing the decandling process till next year. We've also got some really beautiful smaller trees pulled in already just because they tend to be less hardy. This amazing Korean maple, the biggest one I've ever seen in bonsai cultivation, is shifting gears to sort of a hybrid approach this year. We're going to be working on, at the same time, getting ramification in the lower branches and working on sealing up this big trunk chop that we just started working on cutting back and forming properly this year. So it's going to be sort of a hybrid. It's going to go into an oversized ceramic pot filled with akadama. That should help us get both of those things done at the same time. So I'm really excited about the process on that. This tree's been in this box for like 17 years. It's time to get decent soil. Sort of the same for this Kusa dogwood we've been working with. I'm gonna work those wounds, make it so it's gonna heal in a straight path, heal better, and primarily get it in some better soil so that it keeps growing. We've got a big pile of trident maples over here. These are actually gonna go into a forest planting, so they've been allowed to grow, cut back. We've got some different size trunks, really important in a forest composition. So we will have 11 tridents going into one pot. It's going to be a super cool project. I can't wait to share it with you. And finally, look at these dawn redwoods. Look at the color that decided to come out on these dawn redwoods this year. They are incredible this year. Isn't it crazy? And look at this big guy. This Dawn Redwood is a phenomenal tree. It turned the most beautiful oranges this year. It's almost hard to imagine. Like, look at these oranges on this tree. We burned this one with a torch to give it this lightning strike effect. This tree is really going from development to refinement. It's already got good ramification. After a few more years of work, it's going to have great ramification. Look at how interesting the bark pattern is on this trunk. Just everything about this tree. Lovable, just beautiful. And then the greenhouse itself, as I said, fans are running already because our temperature went above 40. The system that we have in place is a gas heater, and this gas heater, anytime it gets below 34 degrees, the gas heater kicks on, pushes it back up. If it goes above 40, these fans turn on and they pull cold air in until the greenhouse gets back down to 38 degrees. The system has worked really, really well to make sure that the greenhouse stays between 35 and 40. That's the perfect temperature to make it so we can keep working the trees all winter and maintain their winter dormancy. Like that little dance that we get to do means that the trees never risk dying from freeze. We don't lose branches from freeze. We don't have desiccating wind kill branches off on our trees. And on top of that, I don't lose a whole season where I can do work. So I'm repotting January, February. By the time spring bud swell is happening, the trees are ready to roll already. This gives me a whole month of extra growing season. And on top of that, the greenhouse gives me an incredible window where normally I'd just be watering my tropicals and messing with them a little bit in the house. Now I get to do tons of work on the trees. The larch that we started with in that beautiful gold coloring got potted into this Randy Hoshaw pot, which is just an incredible piece. Got potted into that in the middle of winter last year. And that's just one example of the way that our work gets to be extended. I can't wait to share with you guys all of the cool projects we're going to be working on here at Third Day. I can't wait to just bring you along the journey, because my goal here is just to share bonsai with you. It's been really life-giving for me. It's been really incredible to have a space where there's life, where there's trees that actually draws wildlife and birds into the yard. More than that, it's been a really good place for my heart. It's been a phenomenal place of peace and rest, where I can come and get away from the stress of work, get away from the stress of all that stuff, and just be in an interactive place with nature. So I hope this blesses you, and I hope to see you guys next time. I can't wait again to bring you along the journey with me as we continue to do work with these trees. So have a great day, bless you, and we'll see you next time. Bye.